Dried fruits including apricots, raisins, dates, prunes, figs, and dried mangoes concentrate natural sugars, fiber, vitamins, and minerals into shelf-stable, portable forms. The drying process removes water while leaving nutrients intact, creating energy-dense foods useful for athletes, travelers, and anyone needing convenient nutrition. However, dried fruits present dual contamination concerns: concentrated pesticide residues from the original fresh fruit and added preservatives, particularly sulfites, used to maintain color and extend shelf life. The drying process concentrates everything in the fruit, including pesticide residues. If a fresh apricot contains trace pesticide residues, the dried apricot made from it contains those same total residues in a much smaller, drier package. Per unit weight, dried fruit can have significantly higher pesticide concentrations than fresh fruit. When you eat a handful of raisins, you're consuming pesticide residues from many grapes compressed into a small volume. Sulfur dioxide and related sulfites are commonly used to preserve dried fruits, particularly apricots and golden raisins. These preservatives prevent browning and maintain appealing bright colors. Unsulfured dried apricots are brown rather than orange. The natural color change during drying is prevented by sulfite treatment. For most people, sulfites pose no significant health risk. However, for sensitive individuals, particularly some asthmatics, sulfites can trigger severe reactions including difficulty breathing and anaphylaxis. The prevalence of sulfite sensitivity is relatively low, but the reactions can be serious. Reading labels becomes crucial with dried fruits. Sulfur dioxide, sodium sulfite, sodium bisulfite, and related compounds all indicate sulfite presence. Unsulfured products will explicitly state unsulfured or no sulfites added on packaging. The trade-off is that unsulfured fruits have less appealing color and potentially shorter shelf life. Imported dried fruits, particularly from major exporters like Turkey, China, and other regions with less stringent pesticide regulation, may contain residues from prohibited chemicals or excessive preservative levels. Domestic dried fruits face regulatory oversight, though enforcement varies. Beyond sulfites, other preservatives like potassium sorbate may be used in some dried fruit products to prevent mold growth. These are generally recognized as safe, but still represent additional chemical exposure. The chewy texture and concentrated sweetness of dried fruits make portion control challenging. It's easy to consume large quantities without realizing how much fruit you're eating. This multiplies any contamination exposure. A handful of raisins might represent a half-pound of fresh grapes, concentrating whatever residues were present. Organic dried fruits address pesticide concerns by using organically grown source fruit. They may still contain some preservatives, though sulfites are prohibited in organic dried fruits in many jurisdictions. However, natural darkening occurs without sulfites, so organic dried apricots will be brown. The organic premium for dried fruits typically runs 50 to 100%, significant on products that are already somewhat expensive. Washing or soaking dried fruits raises interesting questions. Can you reduce surface residues by rinsing dried fruits before eating? Some water-soluble residues might be reduced by soaking. They are also leaching some nutrients. The concentrated nature of dried fruit means residues aren't just on the surface, but throughout the product. Home drying presents an alternative for those with access to fresh organic fruit and dehydrator equipment. You can control the source quality and avoid preservatives entirely. The time and equipment investment is significant, but for frequent dried fruit consumers, it provides maximum control over contamination. Substitution strategies depend on your use case. If you eat dried fruits for portable energy during activities, fresh fruit, though less convenient, provides similar nutrition without concentration concerns. Frozen fruits offer year-round access without preservatives. For baking applications, using fresh or frozen fruit instead of dried changes recipes but reduces exposure. For vulnerable populations, particularly children who often consume raisins and other dried fruits as snacks, The concentration effect warrants caution. Children's smaller body size means relatively higher exposure per unit body weight. Organic dried fruits without added sulfites represent the safest option, though the cost premium is notable. Portion guidelines that balance nutritional benefits against concentrated exposure suggest treating dried fruits as concentrated foods, which they are. A tablespoon or two of raisins provides substantial nutrition. You don't need large handfuls. Using dried fruits as accent ingredients rather than main foods helps manage exposure while retaining their culinary and nutritional value. The practical message is that dried fruits offer genuine convenience and nutrition, but the concentration of both nutrients and contaminants requires thoughtful consumption. Organic options, attention to preservative content, portion control, and strategic use rather than unlimited consumption creates a balanced approach.